A few months back, I returned from my third trip to Europe in 3 consecutive years, and the main purpose of this visit was to check off everything I'd missed previously and get on all of the major new for 2024 roller coasters. I've done a continent-wide ranking video quite a number of times now, but I figured with all the new rides I've experienced this past summer, why not give it an update? As of this video's recording, I've ridden nearly 400 roller coasters all across Europe, which is a metric that really surprised me because I've done 572 in my home country, the United States, which really isn't that drastic of a difference. Quickly touch on Turkey. I understand it's geographically divided between Europe and Asia. Technically, only 3 of the 10 roller coasters I've done there should qualify for this list, but it's my video, I can do what I want, and since I featured Turkey on a European theme park tour, I'm going to include all 10 as candidates. You also may have noticed I glossed over Italy. Unfortunately, I have yet to visit that country, but I have good reason for it. As many of you may know, I'm just as much into hiking and exploring cities as I am into theme parks, which you see on display in my other channel, Travel Dash. Since Italy is so rich in both of these things, not to mention its plethora of 139 different roller coasters, I feel as though it warrants its own special trip at some point down the line. Otherwise, I like to think I've done just about all of the major stuff in Europe, which I'm incredibly grateful for, and in this video I'm going to rank my top 30 roller coasters on the continent. I'm also grateful to have garnished a large European audience here on Coaster Dash, so for those of you watching, I'd love to hear about your top coasters list below, and let me know where you're commenting from as well. Alright, we've got a lot of ground to cover, so I'm going to dive in here. But understand these are just my brief thoughts on each of these rides. If you want more thorough reviews, I have a vlog playlist and every single park mentioned is represented there. Kicking things off at number 30, give me Nemesis Reborn, Alton Towers, Staffordshire, England. The first new entry on my list from this past Europe tour, Nemesis Reborn is among my favorite inverted coasters from manufacturer B&M. I'm completely obsessed with its theming and how menacing the ride looks despite the fact that it's not even 50 feet tall. What Alton Towers did to compensate is they dug the layout into trenches, meaning the elevation from lowest to highest track segments is quite a lot more than 50 feet. But still, with these limitations, they did have to make things compact, and that's this coaster's other selling point. It is ridiculously intense and ridiculously awesome. Number 29, Fianna Force, Emerald Park, Ashbourne, Ireland. The first new for 2024 entry on my list, Fianna Force was only the second iteration of Vekoma suspended thrill coaster. Having done both, I think they learned a tremendous amount because they knocked this ride out of the ballpark. It could not be smoother, and it rides along an extremely satisfying layout. Pacing is great, it's forceful, and it's got more airtime than any other invert I've done by probably threefold. Number 28, Tonnerre to Zeus, Parc Asterix, Flaily, France. Built by Custom Coasters International, then reimagined by the Gravity Group, Tonnerre to Zeus sprinkles in some elements from both companies, and it's fantastic. Aside from the final few elements, Zeus's pacing is great and contains a ton of airtime hills big and small. I do have a bit of a salty taste in my mouth with this one, as they recently decided to remove the backwards facing car, which really elevated this coaster to a whole other level. As a result, I decided not to let the backwards experience influence my ranking too much, which is why I landed at 28. Number 27, Junker, Power Park, Kahava, Finland. Located at a very remote amusement park, Junker is often overlooked compared to other rides in the Nordic region, but it absolutely shouldn't be. It's one of the best coasters Gerstlauer's ever built, with an outstanding launch, great airtime, and a few unique inversions. It's also as smooth as can be, which I know you don't always get with Gerstlauer, but it's something I greatly appreciate about Junker. Number 26, Mahuka, Wallaby Rhône-Alpes, La Avenures, France. Now, my second favorite coaster in the country, Mahuka delivered beyond all of my expectations. Aside from a short length, it's a nearly flawless attraction with exceptional pacing, so much airtime, 3 great inversions, and in general they balance everything out seamlessly. I've yet to try Intamin's prototype single rail coaster, but as I understand it, their second go with Mahuka was much better, and now I can't wait to see more of this model hit the parks. 25, Balder, Liseberg, Gothenburg, Sweden. A guilty pleasure of mine, what you see with Balder is pretty much what you get. The ride isn't varied at all, pretty much delivering airtime hill after airtime hill, but it's executed so well that it easily became a favorite wooden roller coaster in Europe. What I love about this ride is the quality and its elements remain consistent throughout the entire layout. Even if there's hardly any change, the buffet of negative G-force is about as fun as it gets, so surely I had to grant Balder a top 25 spot. 24, Flucht von Novgorod, Hansa Park, Sierksdorf, Germany. In a park where another Gerstlauer steals the spotlight, Flucht von Novgorod is often left in the dust, which only adds to my claim that it's one of the most underrated roller coasters in Europe. It's one of the few rides on this list which combines highly immersive theming on and off ride with incredibly intense elements. That opening sequence with an absurdly forceful LSM launch into a sharp camelback hill is pure bliss, but then when you combine that with all sorts of indoor surprises, Novgorod is a gift that keeps on giving. 23. Wodan Timber Coaster, Europa Park, Rust, Germany. Great Coasters International built some incredible wooden roller coasters, and of them, Wodan is easily in my top 3, if not number 1. This is another criminally underrated attraction, with some nice theming and stylization to complement a world-class layout of rapid-fire airtime hills and banked curves. It runs remarkably well compared to most Woodies I've ridden, and I don't find it all that short like some say. An all-around epic experience from start to finish. 22. Helix, Liseberg, Gothenburg, Sweden. One of Europe's most iconic roller coasters, Helix rightfully earns its reputation as a spectacular ride. While not every element delivers, the 4,500 feet of track length more than makes up for it, and the setting perched atop a hill is breathtaking. Helix has incredible variation in its layout with 7 fluid inversions and airtime hills big and small. Sure, there's plenty of nitpicks I could give it, but for what it offers, I think it's a brilliantly designed attraction with so much going for it. 21. Tornado, Bakken, Klampenborg, Denmark. Probably a bit of a hot take here, but hear me out with a caveat. Regular Tornado is nowhere near 21 on a European coaster list, but Tornado on boost mode, where they disable the trim brakes and spin you like a top, that's a lot higher than 21. So to strike a middle ground, this is about where it ends up for me. It's such a wacky, messed up little ride that has no business being so intense. And one thing about Tornado that doesn't change regardless of how you ride it is that launched chain lift hill. I have never seen anything like that. Number 20. Hypercoaster, Land of Legends, Antalya, Turkey. I was crazy enough to fly to this part of the country solely for this very ride, and though it was stressful and tiring, it could not have been more worth it. Parks need to allow Mach to build more hyper layouts because these things are astounding. In particular, Hypercoaster features the world's tallest loop threading the lift hill, and a great sequence of camelbacks, turns, and even a zero-G roll thrown in for good measure. I must have lapped this thing 20 times during my visit, but even so, I could have gone for more. Absolutely spectacular coaster. Number 19. Terran, Phantasialand, Brühl, Germany. Look, I know I've had a history claiming this ride was overrated, and while I still believe that to be true, I have started to appreciate it more and more over time. I'm completely obsessed with the theming built around Terran and how its layout weaves in and around it. They had to get so creative to fit in all of these elements, yet still, there are some great airtime, punchy bank curves, and 2 tremendous launches. Same as Helix, though not all moments live up to the hype, this is just an all-around fantastic package. Number 18. Shambhala, Portaventura Park, Salou, Spain. This is a gold standard hypercoaster. Though Shambhala may not be as intense as similar rides I've placed higher, what it does is virtually perfect for what it's trying to deliver, and that's sustained floater airtime out the wazoo. Having said that, it's definitely not repetitive because the hills come in different shapes and sizes, plus one of the best turnaround sections manufacturer B&M has ever built. And it couldn't be smoother too, so as far as I'm concerned, this is one of the most re-rideable, purely fun and enjoyable roller coasters in the world. 17. Red Fire, Korsan Adası, Tuzla, Turkey. Oh boy, this one was a real pain to get on. However, here it is all the way up at number 17. Red Fire is an absolute powerhouse. The launch and top hat are both great, but everything from the bottom of the drop to the mid-course brake run exceeded expectations. Honestly, one of my favorite stretches on any coaster, with some incredibly fast-paced transitions, 2 astounding inversions, and high positive G-force. I was so pleased by how this coaster ran, especially considering you hear so little about it. Oh, and for fans of Mirabilandia's I-Speed over in Italy, Red Fire is an exact replica, so consider this a ranking for both. Number 16. Wildfire, Kolmården Zoo, Norrköping, Sweden. One of only a few coasters in Europe from manufacturer RMC, Wildfire is their wooden topper track design with an enormous layout perched atop a hill. The ride is a tale of 2 halves, with the first delivering an absolutely unbelievable sequence of elements, but then the second falling flat in comparison. Don't get me wrong, it's good the whole way through, however I find it tricky to rank when its layout and quality is so unbalanced. At minimum, you ride it for the first 4 to 5 above and beyond elements and appreciate the ride's incredible setting and raw feel that to me is enough to get Wildfire near the top 15. Number 15. Fly, Phantasialand, Brühl, Germany. While not the most intense experience in the world, Fly is incredibly fascinating to ride due to how they've weaved all of this track around themed elements. It's a lot like Terran in that way, but since you're in the flying position on your stomach, I appreciate the near misses even more. And that's on top of Fly having some of the most peculiar forces ever. Imagine sustained airtime while on your stomach, it's crazy. Really, this made it so high because I can't imagine too many other coasters being quite as fun. This one is just a joy from start to finish. Number 14, Let Coaster, Legendia, Warsaw, Poland. Fun fact, the phrase "don't judge a book by its cover" absolutely applies to roller coasters too. Let Coaster might only be 130 feet tall, but what it does with that height is so crazy and so compact, I'd honestly go as far as to say it's one of the most intense rides in the world. The pacing is unbeatable as you rocket through inversions and airtime hills at speeds that feel too fast for its own good. But in this case, Let Coaster is smooth and feels completely natural, even as it's trying to rip your head off, which is why it's my personal favorite roller coaster ever built by Vekoma. Number 13, Red Force, Ferrari Land, Salou, Spain. On paper, this is a very simple idea. Quick launch up a top hat, then back down into the brake run. But once you give it a front row ride, you begin to recognize just how much power it has in its short duration. The first launch is absolutely outrageous and one of the best out there, sending you flying up into the highest moment on any coaster in Europe at 367 feet. Red Force probably won't rank as highly for many of you, but as someone who craves sustained high speeds from a roller coaster, it's right up my alley. Number 12, Expedition G-Force, Holiday Park, Hasloch, Germany. This is a legendary attraction, often considered one of the greatest from manufacturer Intamin, and although their modern attractions have more flair to them, G-Force is very respectable for what it is. From the immaculate airtime off the twisting drop to the countless hills of various sizes, it feels like it's designed for coaster enthusiasts. It is one of those that feels quite repetitive, but when the execution in its airtime is so perfect, I could care less. Number 11, Hyperion, Energylandia, Zadar, Poland. Like a modern version of G-Force, this is also an Intamin mega coaster, but almost 100 feet tall, no biggie. You cannot believe the size of this coaster until you see it in person. It is a monster, and you feel all of that power as you travel across two beautifully distinct halves. First is constant camelbacks and a dive loop, and the second is a perfect mess of twisted track, easily one of the most intense rides in all of Europe. Number 10, Untamed, Walibi Holland, Biddinghuizen, Netherlands. It took Europe a while to get their first RMC, but hands down, it was worth the wait for Untamed. This ride feels like a bucking bronco the way it tosses you up out of your seat on repeat. Even though force-wise, it's a bit on the repetitive side, it doesn't really feel that way since all the hills are different shapes and sizes. Then you throw in 5 spectacular inversions and you end up with the best roller coaster in the Netherlands by far. Number 9, Voltron, Europa Park, Rust, Germany. Arguably the most anticipated new roller coaster to open in 2024, Voltron by no means disappointed for me. It's absolutely amazing, but some of you do seem to be overhyping it slightly. While it is a ridiculously long ride, credit where credit is due, not every element hits for me, and it's a lot more shaky and headache-inducing than a new coaster should be. But a lot of that is also because it's crazy intense and packed with a vast array of forces. The airtime is stupidly powerful, and there is a grand total of 7 inversions that all bring something to the table. Throw in some world-class theming, and you've got yourself a real winner. Number 8, Hyperia, Thorpe Park, Chertsey, England. Like I said, I'm a speed fiend, which explains why Hyperia was my favorite new coaster of the year. In addition to its magnificent pacing though, it's also got 4 of the greatest ride elements ever devised. The highest beyond vertical drop on any roller coaster, the best, most airtime-packed implement ever built, a completely unhinged Outer Bank airtime hill inversion thing, and a powerful stall dive loop hybrid. They got so creative with this layout to the point where I can't even name some of these elements, and even if it ends a part or two earlier than it should have, Hyperia reaches such high highs that I could not care less. Number 7, Toutaudis, Parc Asterix, Flaily, France. I'm a sucker for the Intamin multi-launch. It's actually my favorite coaster model ever, so expect quite a few in the top 10 starting with Toutaudis. Despite a few lackluster moments, nearly the rest of the layout here is outstanding, with amazing airtime, inversions, and pacing. And typically you don't see high levels of theming on big coasters, but Toutaudis couldn't be any more of an exception. Absolutely incredible attention to detail combined with incredible elements, what's not to love here? Number 6, Der Schwerdeskannon, Hansa Park, Sierksdorf, Germany. Easily the best roller coaster Gerstlauer's ever built, Kiernan is terrifying and awesome. The surprises on the inside are things I could have never expected, but then the layout stands its own with unrelenting pacing and power. It's technically not the smoothest ride, but if anything that adds to the ride's intensity because your brain can't even begin to comprehend what's going on. While everyone's out here glazing Voltron, and for good reason, here's an unpopular take. I still think the Schwerdeskannon is the best roller coaster in Germany. Number 5, Taiga, Linnanmäki, Helsinki, Finland. Nearly a perfect design from Intamin, there's little you could do to improve the layout found on Taiga. The way it interacts with its location maintains a great speed and mixes in a fantastic variety of elements. You'll find 2 punchy launches, tons of good airtime, and 4 tremendous inversions, which accumulate in a supremely fun, re-rideable coaster. Parks need to let Intamin do more of this worldwide. Fantastic coaster. Number 4, Conda, Wallaby Belgium, Wavre Belgium. I recently just had the opportunity to re-ride this one after 2 years, and I forgot just how outstanding it was. Conda's layout is another that I'd struggled to improve. Maybe the non-inverting Cobra roll in the middle could have been whippier, but otherwise, dare I say Conda's perfect? The sustained airtime in the first half, quick pops in the second half, and brilliant pacing make for an unbelievable ride experience. Intamin once again knocks it out of the park. Number 3, Batman Gotham City Escape, Parque Warner Madrid, Madrid, Spain. Easily the best coaster in the country, Batman had my jaw on the floor. For fans of Universal's Velocicoaster, this is right up there with it, with an even better sequence of airtime and, dare I say, an even better sequence of inversions. The layout is masterful with virtually everything I'm looking for in a roller coaster. On top of that, Parque Warner Madrid went above and beyond with the theming, even going as far as to implement onboard audio into the trains. I cannot say enough good things about Batman. This is my favorite Intamin in all of Europe. Number 2, Zadra, Energylandia, Zadar, Poland. Of all RMCs I've ridden, Zadra is a show-off when it comes to speed. You soar through this entire layout and the pacing is amazing. Expected was also some great inversions and airtime, which it overwhelmingly accomplished, but just as an experience, everything came together perfect and Zadra exceeded my already high expectations. It's so smooth too, you could easily ride this over and over again without getting too exhausted. An absolute slam dunk from the manufacturer and one of the best roller coasters in the world. But for a 3rd year straight, taking number 1 on my list is the Ride to Happiness Plopsaland des Ponts, Belgium. I have so much respect for mock rides as they have pushed the envelope when it comes to spinning coasters. A concept that doesn't sound all that promising on the surface, but the execution is all that counts, and it's why Ride to Happiness is so damn phenomenal. The forces are immensely powerful on their own, but when taken in random directions that are different each ride, that's what really makes it for me. Plopsaland went all out to make sure it was a full package as well, as you have some pretty great theming and my favorite onboard audio soundtrack of any ride in the world. Anyone will be hyped on their first few rides, but as a die-hard fan of this coaster, that hype has never receded. We all have our own Ride to Happiness, but for me, this is the number 1 coaster in Europe, and it's not even really all that close. I appreciate you all very much for sticking with me here. Be sure to leave a like on this video if you enjoyed, and stay tuned for more content like this on Coaster Dash. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye guys.